Go, we go. Well, hello there. Welcome to Raising the King.
Yay!
Yay!
Yay.
So anyway, what we're gonna get started talking about today, Maurice, we'll let you lead it off.
Well, there's actually so much to discuss. They have finally captured that Pennsylvania prison escapee survivalist Michael
Really?
Burnham. Um,
Really?
yeah, apparently he was in the vicinity of a residential neighborhood, and the owner confronted him after hearing the dog bark. And Burnham said he was just camping. Um, but the astute and perspicacious homeowner recognized him from the mug shots and all points bulletin description and notified the authorities, and the sheriffs in Warren County apprehended him after
Wow.
a
Okay.
couple of weeks being on the lam from Pennsylvania State Police with expected charges of murder, kidnapping, and a few other potential felonies.
Wow. Okay.
I'm
Well,
Of
glad they
course,
did.
one less
yeah,
evil or insane or both off the streets, and it's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
It's like these people just keep sprouting out everywhere. You capture one or two
Yeah.
or kill one or two, then another one or two pops up. And
yeah, and
which
that's
is
just
good that we catch them, but it's unfortunate that obviously they're evil.
yeah, and
And
that's a few days after Suffolk County Police in Long Island, New York, arrested Rex Howerman, who founded his own Manhattan-based architectural consulting firm, which had among its employees his daughter, and which did work for Nike, Target, Catholic Charities, and another number of other prominent entities, private and governmental. Um,
Wow.
yeah, they used a combination of DNA from a pizza crust, uh, burner phones that he used, um, apparently to contact many of the victims which were professional escorts, as well as to taunt their next of kin after the murders. And
Sick people,
yeah,
sick-minded.
yeah.
but he blended in because he was, notwithstanding being 6'4" and 240 pounds, which is not something that you blend in with, but appeared to be
Mm-hmm.
a businessman who his neighbor saw walk to the train station on his quotidian commute to the Big Apple,
Hmm.
you know,
Okay.
and
Wow.
but there were 11 bodies in all, and they didn't always fit the MO of strangulation attributed to Harriman, who obviously hasn't been found guilty of anything, but seems to me like there's sufficient evidence. But other bodies didn't match his preferred profile of women that were less than 5 feet tall and 115 pounds, more or less, because
Hmm.
others were dismembered, and there was also an adult male and an infant.
Oh my gosh.
So there
That's
might be other
horrible.
killers. Yeah.
So,
So,
so how did they come up with him though? What gave up this to find him actually, or to come that to light?
Apparently, the pimp of Miss Costello, one of the victims, had notified authorities some time ago about a John who matched Harriman's description and had a Chevy Colorado, um, and was in the vicinity of Massapequa. And, you could probably, which is a small town
Mm-hmm.
that's part of Long Island. And so, you figured you could kind of focus on that description. And they had the number from um, Miss Costello's records, and which was cross-referenced to that of the pimp, because they maintain a certain oversight
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, of their employees. and he probably would have been captured much sooner. But the previous administration with the Suffolk County Police Department was reputedly shady. In fact, the prior chief was forced out and refused the assistance offered freely from the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Wow.
So, you know,
I didn't know they could have a choice, because when you look at all the TV shows and the movies, it's like when you usually see the FBI just showing up saying, "Well, we're going to be taking
Taking over.
over,"
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
that's
see,
typical. So I didn't know you can deny them or reject.
yeah, the FBI doesn't automatically have jurisdiction. It can occur because you have federal crimes, or there's a crime that crosses state lines.
I would think murder or mass murder should qualify.
Exactly.
Well, it doesn't automatically happen.
Right.
Like, for example, the still unsolved mystery of the murder of JonBenet Ramsey, age 6, in Colorado, on the day after Christmas, 1996. That was purely the ineptitude of the local law enforcement authorities, because there wasn't anything that indicated that it crossed state lines. And murder by itself is not a federal offense. Now, it can become federal, like in U.S. Army and Persian Gulf War veteran Timothy McVeigh's horrific slaughter of 168 men, women, children, and babies at the Alfred P. Murrah Oklahoma City Federal Building, because that's federal property.
That's why.
Yeah. And if you, let's say if you shot and killed a federal official, so like immediately, like the Lee Harvey Oswald or Sirhan would be targeted by the FBI.
Yeah. So anyway,
Wow.
well, okay, so well, that's it's a good thing that these villains are being captured and hopefully executed.
Not in New York.
Not in California either.
And they just let out Leslie
Yeah.
Van Houten last week.
Yeah,
Oh
she
my
should have been
gosh.
executed. All of them should have been executed. And another challenged person out on the street. Like, we need one more.
Well, she would have been, along with the rest of the Manson family, had it not been for the California Supreme Court, which for a time invalidated capital punishment in the Golden State.
Man,
Yeah.
this is
I'll refrain
horrible.
from saying anything negative about them. I'm sure they had the good, stupid reasons.
Well,
So at any rate, but moving to a different subject, can't say happier, but different.
different.
Depending on what it is. I've been reading, been focused on a lot of real estate related news, and one of them that caught my eye was the foreign ownership of America's businesses and land. And I know there's some, this thing with TikTok. Are they passing on it being, is it a way to obtain confidential, private information from American citizens? Is it a way to get some type of information that could be detrimental to our sovereignty or protection of America's land and people? And so, all I can say is that I wish we would have the same restrictions in the United States that are even our allies and non-allies, no sense in mentioning them, but allies or neutral party countries, if we could adopt the same restrictions. For example, you can't go in, not to pick on any particular country, but where can you just start buying up their farmland, agricultural land, or processing plants, or theaters, you name it, where, I'm sure there's some exceptions, but, some level of restrictions where, it's, and one could debate and being apologetic that why should it be all in the hands of America, citizens or companies? What's the big deal? So just to throw that out there to start
I think that's a great question, because one of the issues or one of the principles about real estate ownership, and we're not talking about fractional shares or remainders or reversionary interest, but just a fee simple interest in land, as I remember from my long ago law school real property class, was that you can't move it.
right.
So if you buy parcels in Hoboken or in Tallahassee or in Philadelphia or the South Bay or Sacramento, you can't move the land, and it's
No.
subject to applicable taxes, which could benefit local jurisdictions, including school districts. And if you got a willing, this is the pro argument for free alienability of all real estate, is that if they buy it with legal tender, convert it into American dollars, and it's purchased from a willing previous owner, a seller, in other words, then why shouldn't he, she, or it, if you're talking about a corporation, LLC, or some other entity, buy it? Irrespective, emphasize, italicize, capitalize, that purchasers own country of origins rights or laws or statutes. So just because they're not doing the right thing, does that compel us to reciprocate? For example, if they're harming our people, do we harm theirs if it's not a formal state of war? Now, I'm not saying there shouldn't be restrictions, but I'm just saying those are some of the arguments for, let's say, allowing even the Chinese, who are obviously not our friends, to purchase land. Now, I'm not saying I'm in favor of it. I'm just putting it out there.
And we're
But see
referring
that,
we're referring to the government too.
that's the problem, that I think that this is almost like a game that they have, because you could say that it's okay for even us to go and buy land into other countries, which is happening in in El Salvador. A lot of companies from all over are coming because the president have given an opportunity. But in Mexico, for example, is different. You only have certain period of time that you can own. Now, what you do with the land is what is important too. So, like we were talking with Michael, is that some of the Asians are actually buying this land, farmland, which provide basic, food to our people. Who knows what exactly, depending of, I'm not saying that's something bad, but what about if there's a way of controlling populations? We're looking right now that Russia and China, they're getting together, and they have almost like similar attributes of why they want things, like Ukrainians land, and they offer a lot of food supply, agriculture to all over the world. So
yes,
there's something that I don't like about that. It's it's something that is sinister, just to think that they may have control in the way that they're providing food to everybody, and not knowing exactly. So those are the kind of things that I think that the government also should be able to have a little bit more restrictions in what they do, And to be honest, I don't even know whether even the government, is safe. I
You're
don't know.
right.
I'm taking, just putting it out there.
No, I think those are important issues, Sandra, because and in fact, and Michael had kind of introduced the topic as well. In terms of sovereignty, and like you said, control over food supply, which is even more significant than traditional notions of national security, where you think about invasions by tanks and aircraft, or you think about espionage or stealing nuclear secrets. But when you could actually potentially induce a famine, which is what Stalin did, and it's called the Holodomor in Ukraine back in the 1930s, in which millions of people starved to death. And they owned the land and the agricultural crops, but Stalin kept them from eating their own food or from marketing it. And of course, he epitomized, along with the notorious Adolf Hitler, 20th century evil and totalitarianism and genocidal intent, where you could eradicate populations,
Yes.
And so, and I remember like Huawei, which was an issue a number of administrations ago, and continuing in similar companies, where Chinese companies are trying to buy sensitive American land. And a long time ago, Beijing exposed itself as not being a helpful nation,
Mm-hmm.
and
So, yeah. Yeah, so, it's I know there's no conclusion to this conversation, but just, questioning, how far do we go? And I would even say the restrictions to me, if I had a magic wand, would be restricted mostly to, I would have general restrictions, but also those to what we call important industries like food supply, water supply, something that we just can't live without. It's like, why are you giving that up? Um,
yeah,
I just don't understand why there's not someone domestic with that kind of money that could buy it. Maybe, I don't know. But just to me, something, because if you're already going to start putting labels on people, I would think, okay, we can't trust them on this, you can't trust them on that. Like intellectual property violations probably happen every second in some parts of the world. We don't have to mention names, but we already know who those are. And
right.
why do you trust them on everything else? Why would you? It's like if someone is stealing money from you and it, you saw them and you saw them and you bring it up, and then all of a sudden you just saw, you're just buddies again in another subject. Or to me, once you're labeled a liar, cheat, and steal, that's what you do. And to me, I apply it across the board that, well, I can't trust you in these 5 things. I'm certainly not going to trust you in something that is detrimental to public safety.
Yes.
So
yes.
it's a big game, politics. And I know a lot of us say we don't like it or rather not deal with it, but you're dealing with it whether you like it or not. You're a pawn. you're on the game board. You're a piece.
And it's one thing. It seems to me like if somebody is saying, I don't enjoy studying political science, and I don't want to memorize the last 10 presidents of Hungary. All right, I'd rather play chess or follow soccer or work on my preparation of pad thai. But I think it's like you said, even if you're not an aficionado and you didn't read the memoirs of Newt Gingrich and you're not wiring money to Chris Christie, politics still affects you.
Yeah.
Whether you're breaking bread with Gavin Newsom at the French Laundry, or
Mhm.
whether you're going door to door um, in Havana, for the local government, it affects you. You
It
know,
does.
um, and now I don't know if there's any place on earth where it's easier to vote than the United States. I mean, they practically come to your house and take you to the polling precinct. Is
Yeah, there
motor
should
vote,
be. Yeah, yeah.
just like
I
motor
think that
voter?
I think that what happens is that a lot of people have lost faith in in the election, because I know a lot of people, including in my family, that they don't want to vote. They gave up. And it's unfortunately, like you were saying, but they lost faith in the elections, and
Yeah.
in the process, the electoral vote, so, but all of these about politics is just, I guess it's a game. All of them, Democrats and Republicans, win in their own way.
Well,
Is the
you,
people.
well, um, Hubert Humphrey,
I used to like
uh,
him. Oh man,
the Happy Warrior, former
I used to like him.
Minneapolis mayor,
Yeah,
civil rights crusader, and
yeah,
one-time failed presidential um, nominee.
yeah.
He spoke at the 1948 Democratic National Convention.
Mhm.
He was warned, do not bring up civil rights. We'll shut you down. You will not have any career whatsoever if you bring that up, because they know uh, Hubert was going to bring up civil rights, because he kept bringing up bill after bill, and the Democrats shot him down because they believed in Jim Crow. They believed in segregation. They
Separate but
believed,
equal. Separate but equal. Yeah.
yeah. And even then, they thought
Mhm.
that was kind of too much for Black people. And they kept warning Hubert, don't do it. Don't do it. You're not going anywhere. You're not ever going to have a future in the Democratic Party. And did he listen?
No,
No. He gave a longer
no.
speech.
He did the
And
right thing. He
Man,
did the right
yeah.
thing. See, you have to be willing to go down on the ship, and
for what you believe.
you really do. And the people that sell out and just go with the flow, well, you're cowards.
And and that's my point, to see, I'm linking it all together. Hubert Humphrey, he could have gone back to just being a pharmacist. That's where he was trading. But he said, something, that's not right for me having this opportunity as an elected official,
Mhm.
not to fight for every citizen in the USA. And at the end of his speech, notwithstanding some of the boos and brickbats and baneful stares, he got 70% of his fellow Democrats to go on board with bringing back some civil rights legislation, because they saw
Wow.
his courage. And I'm bringing this up because when people feel apathetic, they've lost faith in the system, that they don't have
Mhm.
trust in the elections. What if Hubert was that way? I'm not getting
Yeah.
my point across. These people are powerful. They can
Mhm.
they can ruin my career. And one day, maybe I want to be president of the United States. So all I have to do is listen and keep my mouth quiet. I just have to play ball, because that's what they're saying. Hubert, you're charismatic. Hubert, you are connected to the Midwest, which is a very important region
Mhm.
in national politics. All you have to do is play ball right now. The time's not right. Just listen for a change.
Mhm.
But he didn't. It's just like with Martin Luther King, letter from Birmingham jail. He received all this advice from white pastors. So we agree with you, Martin. What they're doing to a significant segment of the American population, that's contrary to our Christian values and the United States Constitution and the spirit of the Declaration of Independence. So why can't you just wait, Martin? What's the rush?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, yeah, it's easy for you to say. You got your churches and your people aren't being beaten and they don't have water cannons from fire hoses on them, and they can vote. And they have equal justice. They got a jury of their peers if they're accused of a felony. Yeah, you can wait, but justice can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, because it's such a vital part of being a citizen in a democracy, and the powers that be have actually facilitated your ability to cast your ballot. They'll send you ballot materials in Farsi, Vietnamese, Arabic, Russian. Sometimes you got to ask, can I get one in English? Can I get a ballot in English? Please. So,
there's no excuse now. Yeah, there's no excuse now. The opportunity to vote. You can't say that. And people are still complaining they're losing the right. Really? Really? Yeah.
You know something? If you're losing the right, it's because you're not. It's kind of like, well, I don't get enough carbohydrates. I don't get enough fruits and vegetables. Well, MF, go to Trader Joe's.
Get some carbonation.
Go to Vons. Go to Stater Brothers.
Yeah.
Aldi's not even that's not even an American company, and they're selling produce to American citizens. Go to Winn-Dixie, Piggly Wiggly. There's all these places. It's like people. Just say I'm apathetic and I don't care. Because that'd be more honest.
Yeah, that's really the answer. Yeah. They don't care. They just don't care. And you know what? And to talk to the youth about, if we preach to the youth right here, piggybacking off of Sandra's statement, people lose faith, but you have to understand you're not going to get everything you want. You may not get half of what you want in this life.
Right.
And so the whole point of voting is voting your conscience and your spirit. And it doesn't mean you're going to be victorious, because if you judge everything by the time, if you're going to cross the finish line first with a gold medal, well, you're going to have a more challenged life than most people that take action. You really are.
That's right.
Just because you vote, don't mean they're going to win. So, it's sort of like, you study for a test, because you don't get an A+, you quit the class.
Yeah.
You need to really think that out. Is this the smart thing to do here? And
that makes no sense.
Because you get the A+. Oh, I didn't get A+, I'm gonna quit the class, Professor X.
Yeah,
exactly.
No.
Professor X.
No,
Okay.
Exactly.
I do agree that you have to take a stand and you have to be part of the decision making, even if you believe it or not, but you have to do something about it.
It will never change if everybody just gives a think about it now. We wouldn't be here today if people 50, 60, 70, 100 years ago just say, oh, well, I didn't win today. Well, let's just be slaves, and let Hitler take us. It's fine. Let's stop. We lost the battle here and the battle there, so let's just give up.
Exactly.
And it's more ridiculous now when you put it this way, right?
Yeah.
So
well, it's people need to take a stand. Oh, by the way, I decided we're kind of go back for a moment on the ownership issue.
Yeah.
So it says, I'm reading from this NPR website. And so it's not like NPR can be confused with a right-wing media organ. Chinese ownership of U.S. land is highly concentrated. USDA data obtained by NPR shows more than 80% of Chinese-owned land in the United States is held by Smithfield Foods, and a billionaire.
80%.
Yeah. Like 80% of the land owned by the Chinese is held by Smithfield, which is
That's who
owned.
they bought with the business. With the was that the meat processing?
Yeah, in fact, it's the larger producer of pork in the U.S.
Right. I was telling Sandra about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and a billionaire named Sun Guanshin through Brazos Highland Properties LP and Harvest Texas LLC. See, he uses these all-American sounding companies. So Sun used those
Wow.
companies to buy more than 100,000 acres in Texas for a wind farm, but that was ultimately stifled by a Texas state law that was designed to prevent foreigners from accessing the Texas power grid. See, because Sandra, you
Oh.
mentioned the food, and that's important, but also the
The
power
power
grid.
grid.
So,
Yeah.
and and last time around when Texas had that major polar vortex,
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't know it now because they're having, the same kind of heat wave we're experiencing. But, you know, Texas is not built for that. And if you could control the grid,
Man.
Mm-hmm.
and the Chinese have been loaning money to many of the smaller countries of
Yes.
sub-Saharan Africa and Asia, and they're foreclosing. So they own some ports in
That's
Uganda
scary.
and
That's
Sri Lanka.
scary.
Yeah.
Mm.
See, see, there's countries and companies you can work with. You might get a break from the British. The French might finagle with you. The Italians like making deals. The Chinese, I want my money.
Mm-hmm.
I want it right now.
I mean, once you loan it and they have terms, and it's understandable. If you reneged, they have
Yeah.
a legal right to, obviously. But
Right.
yeah, my argument is it should never even be up for debate to even take over a significant or an important business or real estate in the United States. It shouldn't even have gotten to that point rather.
Right.
So just see, on Raising the Cane, it's our name. We're raising it.
And
Controversial issues that some people want to punk out on and say, "Oh, we can't talk about it." Well, that's why you enslaved, in bondage,
yeah, and something,
and so
and they're using their own system against us. It's like jujitsu,
yeah,
like
you use the
Smithfield.
other person's weight. Yeah, I studied
Exactly.
that for a little while. Yeah, use the other
Yeah, you did.
person's weight to defeat them. That's
Exactly.
yeah,
And Smithfield, for example, it's publicly traded. So there's less legislative scrutiny of its assets. And then there's this company based in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's Walton International Group. It's a real estate management firm. It represents 8% of Chinese owned land.
Wow.
And 8%, that's not a small figure. Look, because people say, oh, it's just 8%. 8%, that's who knows how many millions of dollars that is. And depending upon where that 8% is located, see,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not just 8% of liquor stores.
Yeah.
No, they play like the 12th dimensional chess. They're not looking at small potatoes. I'm gonna buy uh a liquor store or a cannabis dispensary. They're looking for critical industries.
right. So anyway, to move into another subject, let's chat about Ocean Gate, the
Okay.
type. Um, that was very sad. Very sad,
Yes.
especially when you have a young man on board, 19, who may have not had a choice to get on board with his father. But
Oh, yes.
the more I see or read and see the news on it, the more sadder it is. The owner, what's his name? Stockton Rush,
Yes.
something like that.
Yeah, that's his name.
it sounds like he really was not absolutely serious on the
The safety.
safety and the materials used for the hull, and saying, and almost kind of in a taunting way, based on the news articles and that I've been seeing and reading, as far as like a lack of concern that, oh, it's experimental, oh well, you have to die anyway
Selfish.
one day. It sounded like, man, it's almost like a death wish, in a way,
Right.
based on the news as
I think
reported.
I think is the ambition. These people are billionaires that they lost their the reason or the purpose for what they have money for, and it's more like an egotistic reasoning for him to do that. He wanted to make sure to be to, I guess, to be on the top and
Yeah.
gain all of that
Yeah,
feel.
yeah,
So the more money they want, the more they lose their
yeah,
ability to ground themselves is to the reason
yeah,
why they have money. And I think that that is the horrible situation in this case, because there were people, lives that he took with his ego.
Yes.
yeah, and that's so true. And when I read that the Titan went down 90 times, but only, I think, successfully 13 times. I believe the numbers are correct. It was 90 times they went down to go to the Titanic, but with the exception of all but 13, they had to turn around. And so, and I've been seeing things of people that were actually on it that they successfully, again, 13 times went down and viewed the remains of the Titanic. So probably this sense of false security. Hey, I already did it a dozen or so times, and we went down 90 times without dying. So, but as you and I discussed, perhaps all those multitudinous times probably weakened. Well, I guess we shouldn't say probably now. It probably weakened the structure, the integrity of the vessel,
Yes.
without proper maintenance, or possibly maintenance, or inspections. Says it wasn't regulated by anybody. I still, it's hard for me to believe that you can
Exactly.
put a plane in the sky, you could have a cruise line that weighs what 300 tons, and they just came out with a new cruise ship that's 5 times bigger than the Titanic. 5 times. Right, that
Yeah.
can be approved. Look, that's regulated. Airplane with 300 people in a plane with Airbus, whatever, a 787 could be, like we were on going to Europe. This plane was so big. This thing was huge. That's regulated. Cranes, Amtrak, regulated. Taxi cabs, regulated. Cars, regulated. But a dang thing, I want to say the other word, dang, not dang, can go in the ocean with people, citizens, not military, not naval, regular people with money. They still regular human beings,
Right.
not regulated. I just don't get it.
Isn't that because it wasn't open to public, really, to people, a lot of people, that to be able to go in? Since this one was an experimental, uh, I kind of heard that it was that even a lot of colleagues have even told him not to do it as well because of the weather, certain conditions, they were not ready. But going back to what your question is isn't it because it wasn't already
It was open to everyone who had the money. Just, and we're going to talk about outer space in a moment. We're going to segue because it's the same conversation. That's highly regulated. Outer space. Uh,
Although you don't.
the land is regulated.
mhm,
On top of the ocean is regulated. It seems like under the ocean is not regulated. It appears.
yeah, that's
Right? You want to
Yeah.
say
unfortunate.
something?
Yeah. I think it's one of those gray areas when you're talking about this type of enterprise, the deep ocean submersibles, because Stockton Rush and his company, Ocean Gate Expeditions, had as many as 3 different submersibles that they used over the years. And because it's not really a common carrier like commercial passenger jets, and it's not as integrated with a traditional branch of the federal government like NASA, there's
Fell
some
through the cracks.
latitude, because see, they're not as concerned with something, frankly, where you're paying $250,000, because your average American is not involved with anything like that. If you get on Amtrak, you get on Delta, you get on Spirit, there's eyes looking at you, because thousands, millions of people are riding those enterprises. So they say, if these billionaires trust this man, why do we have to be involved?
That's where I
But
thought you were going. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but
You too, Sandra. That's where I
there
thought you
were
were
Yeah.
going.
people, that cared. Like 2018, the since terminated director of marine operations at Ocean Gate Expeditions, David Lockridge, who has his own wrongful termination lawsuit against the company, he wrote a report that said this vessel, the Titan, needs more testing. And in fact, and after that, and these people, and then there was more than 3 dozen experts who weren't connected to
Well, and see,
Lockridge.
but my point was these are experts and side people. These weren't government or license or regulators. Now the blame is fully on the CEO
Of that.
who
Yeah.
cost people and his own life by, it seems like, being reckless, and or at least not attentive to what he needed to do to make sure everyone came back home safe. And
Yeah.
so, but those aren't regulators. Those are people saying, "Hey, man, what are you doing?"
But see, that's who you should listen to. And in fact,
Well, yeah,
and there was a company, it's a leading certified organization that actually does assessments and testing of deep ocean submersibles. I mean, that's what they do.
but
But
it's if you engage them, though.
right, because Ocean Gate and Stockton Rush was not willing to pay, because they don't do the assessment for free.
Sure, it costs a lot of money, I'm sure.
Yeah, and that was brought up by Lockridge, the former Marine director that Rush fired for being a whistleblower. And so those are actually publicly accessible documents that were filed with the court. And then there was another one, expert, 2019, Carl Stanley.
Wow.
He sent an email to the CEO, Rush, after hearing cracking noises during a dive aboard that same vessel, the Titan, during his 12,000-foot descent with Rush piloting. The deeper they went, the louder those sounds. And what are those sounds? That's the pressure on the chamber where people are. And see, so they went once, twice, 3 times, 13 times. But unfortunately, the final and 14th was when this carbon fiber experimental vessel couldn't handle the 6,000 pounds per square inch any longer. It's kind of funny, and I think everybody's heard what Titanic director James Cameron said, because, it disappeared that Sunday, and U.S. Navy had detected the sound of an acoustical anomaly. And Cameron talked to some of his colleagues and cronies in the deep sea submersible community, as he described it. And he concluded by the following morning, which was Monday, that
they're not alive.
they didn't make it, because
because the communications and navigation went out simultaneously, and for both of them to collapse, it said something catastrophic happened. Now, what's interesting, kind of as a sidebar, the U.S. Navy went on pretending for the next few days that there was a rescue mission, because you remember there was that countdown, 96 hours of oxygen, 54 hours of oxygen, and it kept going, and it seemed like all along they knew those people were dead.
Yes, that's what I heard too.
Yeah, and I saw the Navy commander and the expert that they hired and everything, and then I read in James Cameron and other people, they said the Navy has equipment, they know what happened.
Yeah,
they know what happened. They can highly speculate and give their best guess that these people are already dead and they should have known it. And James Cameron went down 33 times to the Titanic, by the way, in his research for the movie. And and he mentioned the name of the equipment that the Navy had. And it says, they could tell for the most part. Then maybe they don't know, but 99%, 90%, people are dead.
Well, because they didn't just have that acoustical array of sensors for no reason. That was built to detect Soviet submarines.
Exactly.
They didn't just put some sensors on the bottom of the North Atlantic just because they got some government grant. So, because what else is out there? You're talking, what else? What? Some kind of alien civilization? Is like Atlantis? They're looking for the Submariner?
Lemuria.
Yeah. So, and I suspect the Navy just didn't want to let people know they have all this sophisticated technology. But we can't let people know that. We don't want Putin to know that. Putin already knows it.
Yeah. So, and so
exactly.
To segue into from the depths of the deep blue sea to the depths of outer space is the same thing. People with a lot of money paying for these trips that us regular peons can't afford yet. But my greater point is what happened to the Titan is the same thing with the three companies for the race to be the first financially successful transportation or tourism or travel company to outer space. And so is what is it? SpaceX, Blue Origin, and what's the Galactic? Is that
Virgin Galactic?
Virgin Galactic. And I know one of them is like 450,000 now that they're moving toward being an Uber, basically, or a taxi.
Yeah.
Or, just an entertainment piece. Outer Space Uber. 450,000 for one and 55 million for the other.
Man.
So 55 million to have two butt cheeks sitting in a thing going to outer space. 55 million. That's what I read. And then 450,000 is a call. I don't, so I hope that everyone is safe and sound as they start making these trips back and forth. And now ultimately they want to go in deep space and stuff. I don't know how long that's going to take, 2-3 years. I don't know, to in a cryogenic state. I don't know. But
I actually would be interested in going into outer space. And I think that the difference I see with the enterprises that, and I'm not playing games with Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek ship of that name, Enterprise, but they seem to care more about their passengers than Stockton Rush did. And I think that matters. In fact, while we've been talking, I looked up a couple of items here, just kind of going back. It's still integrated with the main topic too.
In a 2022 interview, Ocean Gate Expedition CEO and co-founder Stockton Rush told CBS News, quote, "At some point, safety just is pure waste. I mean, if you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed. Don't get in your car. Don't do anything."
To
End
an
quote.
extent, he's true. To an extent, he
Yeah.
is. He's true. I mean, if you play
Yeah.
it totally safe, you won't do anything. You won't go anywhere.
Yeah. And
You
he
know.
did say in a Smithsonian Magazine article in 2019, which described Rush as a quote unquote daredevil inventor, that he said, Rush did, that the U.S. Passenger Vessel Safety Act of 1993, quote unquote, needlessly prioritized passenger safety over commercial innovation, end quote. Now, see, at that time when he says it, say, oh, well, yeah, he's like the Wright brothers. He's like Alexander Graham Bell,
Edison. Yeah.
Edison, Tesla, not Elon's,
Yeah. Yeah, we understand.
EV, but the actual
We
rival of
read the
Edison.
cartoon strip. We understand.
Okay. All right. But see, I think quotes like this, they bite you in the behind afterwards because it sounds like you are courageous. And I think there are valid points to be said. But I think there's always that risk. People get killed in their own driveways. But at the same time, you got somebody who's defying all these authorities. And he's just saying, all you fools, you got like almost 40 people saying, hey, Rush, slow down, get it certified, get it tested, have an assessment done. They say, y'all assholes, y'all cowards. And see, at some point, if you got enough people saying, you know something, I don't think you need to walk in that volcano. It looks like it's erupted. Say, get away from me, cowards. I know how to tell molten magma. I don't need it.
There's people that actually go into volcanoes, the top of it, and the right up
To
there to it
test.
to
Yeah.
test the
I
soil.
do know that.
The soil,
I do know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually do go in for active volcanoes. Man,
Yeah.
man,
And
can you imagine?
And I would not stop you from doing that.
Me neither. I think that progress takes courage and takes to close your eyes sometimes to people that are afraid. But I also know that you have to be cautious about it. Yeah, I mean, if they ask me, do you want to go? Perhaps not at the first ones, because it's a trial and error. So they have to analyze, they have to do trips. I will go, but when it's safe, when there are many people that have gone. But I do believe that progress requires people that are courageous and that are able to move forward in what they believe and what they want. If not, then we wouldn't have cars right now. We wouldn't have planes, like you guys were saying.
Right.
So, they're talking about, what about if Earth is not a place to live on in the future? Perhaps they're looking for other places to live, like in our movies that we see.
Armageddon. Look at Armageddon. It was going to be a cataclysmic event. The asteroid the size of Texas was going to hit the Earth at a high impact. It's going to wipe out all life on Earth. So
exactly.
What if? But you know what? Even though you take risks, you did all you could do to make sure it's as safe can be based on the present day technology. So
and see, that's where Ocean Gate Expeditions CEO Stockton Rush, rest in peace, failed, according to James Cameron, because Cameron is saying that he compared the submersibles implosion to the events that led to the disaster of the actual cruise liner Titanic. He noted that both disasters were preventable, and they were
Mhm.
indirectly caused by someone deliberately ignoring safety warnings from others, and that
Exactly.
in both the case of the Titanic in 1912 and the Titan in 2023, you actually had technology that existed, or in the case of the submersible, exists at this time. In fact,
Mhm.
Cameron is basically saying that the carbon fiber composite that Stockton Rush used for the Titan didn't have strength and compression when subjected to the immense pressures at depth, and that pressure hulls should be constructed of contiguous materials like steel, titanium, ceramic, or acrylic, and that the wound carbon fiber that Stockton used for the hull seemed like a bad idea to Cameron from the beginning, and that it was known that a composite hull that Stockton Rush's DC submersible Titan used was vulnerable to microscopic water ingress,
Yeah.
delamination, and progressive
Yeah,
failure over time.
because basically you're talking welding. I mean,
Material.
yeah, you're talking about bringing different pieces together, and like you said, a
Mhm.
contiguous piece would be like a sheet of steel bent for to make, let's say, the hull part, and then maybe another continuous sheet for the bottom, the floor, and then you just
Yeah,
one area or two or three or whatever, a minimal area where you have to bolt them and weld them and heat them together to seal them. I was looking for that word. So not an expert
yeah,
here, but yeah, he used something that wasn't going to work for the long term, and he wasn't willing to listen, obviously. Well, if he did, we wouldn't be talking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
So it's unfortunate. So
Yeah.
hopefully, the same doesn't hold true to when they start making outer space travel as common as getting in a taxi or a Uber. But apologetics, would you, let's say money wasn't an issue, would you pay 55 million or $500,000 for a seat?
that it's hard to say because I mean I didn't win Powerball last night. So it's now a $900 million jackpot, by the way.
Oh, I guess we didn't win either.
Man,
We didn't win either.
yeah.
So you could hear someone, well, the lottery winners that spent all their money on 20 tickets for a family to go to outer space. Yeah,
Well, you know
yeah.
something? If I had enough money, maybe I'd build my own, and I
Well,
would
if you
make
had that,
sure
yeah.
I would make sure I hired the people who criticizes everybody else. Okay, I'm hiring you because you can make it as close to foolproof as possible. I'm gonna
Yeah.
hire. See what I would do. I will hire. See all these critics now, and I think some of the same logic from deep sea submersible design and construction could be analogously applied to craft that can escape the Earth's gravitational field and radiation belt and go into orbit and to other celestial objects. I would hire those people.
Yeah, the
You
top
know,
of the top.
yeah, I'm not gonna
Sandra,
like hire people say, yeah, like on
yeah.
The Simpsons, with Mr. Burns, he's got that sycophant who always praises him. Say, oh, you can't do any wrong. I'm not hiring that person. I want somebody to tell it to me straight.
Oh, kissing that butt. Yeah.
Because because the butt
Brownfield.
kisser is gonna die along with you. They'll be burying you in the same grave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You actually now you don't want now there's always people who will just criticize you. They don't want you to succeed. So you have to distinguish people
Exactly.
who are just naysayers from people who give you constructive criticism. So it's
Exactly.
I don't want to just hear good stuff because let's say if I'm in something, they say, Mr. Kane, it doesn't have brakes. Okay, I want to know that.
Yeah.
So same question, Sandra. If money wasn't an issue, you go up too, huh? Well, you already made a comment. You'll wait until 5,000 people make the journey first.
Yeah.
And,
Or
and
or or
assuming 4,900 don't die.
or they
Yeah.
say,
Right.
you know what? This is the only shot because the earth is going to explode.
There
you
you go.
need to leave, you know, so then I'll take a chance
Man,
to
don't-
yeah,
survival. But
yeah,
But there's no other place to go but in a ship that's going to be running out of oxygen, unlike the TV shows like Battlestar Galactica, where they have like 30 years of oxygen on a ship. That's
but
just the
listen,
movies.
but
That's just the
but
movies.
I said if and when all of the safety and people have gone many
Yeah.
times and I know that is going to work. If not, then I'll stay and die. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd
if I'm
rather
gonna
just stay.
die,
I'd rather stay on Earth and just blow up versus grasping for air in outer space for or starving to death for 2 weeks in a spacecraft.
but
Yeah.
what about if it's an opportunity to for another life? You don't know.
yeah,
You just have to be courageous and believe. If in
Yeah.
case you already did everything in your path to ensure that it was safe,
Now,
that it
if
was
there were other ships that went by and we got communication from them, hey, we're living on Mars and the moon, everything's fine. Now that's different. That's different.
yeah.
But they say we haven't heard from anybody in 3 years.
Oh,
But you know something? You know, remember that there were a number of plots kind of related in the Roddenberry verse when you think about it, like when Kirk and the other members of the U.S. Starship Enterprise would have because they didn't hear from the space colony and they're not responding to subspace communications, and they go investigate and they discover it was destroyed by some hostile extraterrestrial power. And you know that's why you got to be able to protect yourself. See.
But see, and then they now we know now there's people from this planet called Earth that are weak. Now we can go get them.
Yeah.
We know
You know
they
something?
exist.
That's why if we saw, I mean, because you know, there's been increasing coverage now of UFOs, which really doesn't
Mhm.
mean they're extraterrestrial. That just means we don't know what it is. So if you see a birthday balloon and you don't know what it is, that's a UFO. So UFO doesn't necessarily mean extraterrestrial alien technology, but it's just like the same. Because I was watching Finding. This is going to connect because it sounds off the wall for a moment, but I was watching Finding Bigfoot a couple days ago. And I used to be a fan of the belief that Bigfoot existed back when I was a kid in the 1970s. But over the last half century, I realized if Bigfoot or Yeti or Sasquatch or the various other names, depending upon which regional variation of this 7 to 10 foot tall hirsute hominid happened to be, we would have had like stacks of Bigfoot bodies. Because you know the way people shoot, because people shoot in their own high schools and kill their own classmates. So if you, with all the people we have in this country alone, I'm not even talking about other nations, with high powered firearms, you would have had a bunch of Bigfoot bodies on display. The Watts Summer Festival, Barnum and Bailey. You would have them at the World's Fair. You would have had all these Bigfoot bodies. How come they don't have a single Bigfoot corpse? Now, I've been in the Rocky Mountains, and I've been in the forests of New England, and I have seen, you know, acres and acres of towering trees, places where I would never walk. But that's me. You got all these fugitives of justice, like that Pennsylvania man that just caught in the backyard of somebody's house. You got all these people roaming around. You got would-be domestic terrorists. You got survivalists. You got campers. You got people fleeing, uh, you know, court orders. Somebody would have shot Bigfoot a long time ago. So
don't tell that to Oregon, because they believe they have them.
Yeah.
but you know something?
There's some special people that think this thing is real, but it's okay.
But you know something? You know something? You guys watch X-Files, right?
I watched years ago when it was on. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
You're not watching some special channel now, are you? Okay.
Work with me for a moment, okay? Can you work with me for a minute? I was just
X-Files
trying
on.
to establish that for our
Okay.
listeners
Yes,
in
we
other
know
lands.
X-Files. Some of
All
them
right.
are too young for
So the
X-Files.
main character, Fox Mulder, portrayed by David Duchovny,
Hmm.
said, believe. I want to believe. I wanted to believe in Bigfoot. But there just seems to be, when I watch this show, you got three men and the woman who was the skeptical one, and they would get reports, from teenagers. Yeah, we saw Bigfoot. And the thing about it is, it's always people like in Kentucky or someplace. I said, damn, they don't ever seem sober to me. I would believe, show me somebody from South Central Los Angeles who's not an overly intoxicated person, who's not under the influence habitually under acid or PCP or something else. And he says, I saw something that is not of this world. And then I might, I want to hear more from you. But see, I can't keep hearing all this from hillbillies and drug addicts.
What
And
about if Bigfoot has the ability to appear and disappear, or to blend, just like the chameleon?
I'm familiar with that theory. In fact, I read some of that literature. Used to buy it from the old Covina bookstore, by the way. So I has to Zeta made me throw some of it away. But because there was theories about that he could shift into other dimensions. He could change colors. And I'm thinking, still, somebody would shoot you before you shifted, wouldn't they? I mean, because it's like
listen,
spiders.
what about if it's really an extraterrestrial? Just like, did you hear about that case in Nevada where two policemen went and knocked at the door of this guy? Oh, actually, this guy called 911 saying that there was a noise. They saw a lot of lights and something fell on their backyard, and there were two aliens, and they were, with big eyes and blah blah blah. And then the policeman went, and he says, the reason why I'm searching for this is because my body saw that and I just want to verify. But then all of a sudden, everything was deleted from the press. I saw it in Google. I saw it and a lot of people just went ahead, and now nobody's talking about it. So is it really because the government doesn't want people to know? Or is it that it's true that really happened? Because the guy was like insistent over the phone. You can hear the 911 caller saying, they're here. I just need to know what to do. And he kept on saying, please send somebody,
See,
So
I put that in the hillbilly category. And not because I don't want to believe. Not because I don't want to believe. See, because the thing about it, I'm not so sure that the government would necessarily want to prevent people from knowing that, because to me, that would be parlayed into more funding for the Pentagon and NASA. Because, periodically there's debates in the New York Times and the Washington Post. Oh, why does the Defense Department need all this money? Well, if you could show that there's hostile extraterrestrials out there, who wouldn't want to give more money? So we need to prevent an Independence Day scenario from happening. And we don't have Will Smith.
Or from chaos. You never know what people are going to do.
You know, Area 51, Roswell, New Mexico. New Mexico is only so big, isn't it? I mean, we can see if there's some underground government facility holding aliens from all over the universes, holding them captive since the 50s or 40s.
Yeah, I think 40.
There's some that say they're reptilians, they're androids, there are different types of races out there that they don't want us to know, that are able to camouflage with humans and that they have already treaties with the government, several governments. There's some footages from other countries, from France, England, where pilots have reported, lights and objects moving faster than what they, and, so a lot of them that have been able to come out. So, I just wonder, really.
No, Sandra, I wonder too, and I'm not dismissing the possibility of extraterrestrial life and civilization. My my point is just I'm just skeptical about the evidence that's been produced. And when you mentioned the French,
Mhm.
French can't keep any secrets. If there's some aliens out there, they would have been telling everybody.
No,
They
I
can't keep
think that
secrets.
that's what happened, that
And we
they're
appreciate our French listeners in France right now. We really do. We appreciate you.
That doesn't mean you're not
yeah.
going to heaven, people of Paris. That just means you can't keep a secret. I'm not saying
It's
anything
like,
negative. We
so,
got relatives. We got relatives that can't keep a secret. That doesn't mean they're
that's
not going to
true.
heaven. That just
Okay.
means you don't trust them with any knowledge that you don't want
Yeah.
disclosed. And you know something? I think, because I do believe there is a possibility of extraterrestrial civilization. So I'm throwing that out there. So I'm not being
So it's a
negative Nancy.
possibility. But you know what? Whenever it's something people can't explain, they do just label it, oh, must be an extraterrestrial, must be some whatever you want to call it, being, special being, and all that.
Right.
I
Right.
don't know either, but
But, but
you know,
but what I suspect, and I can't disprove that there could be these treaties. I'm not knocking that, Sandra.
Mhm.
But I think in some instances, with this craft that pilots have seen, and let's say even non-hillbillies have witnessed, that some of this technology is from our own civilizations. And I suspect that some of it is American made, and that we don't want everybody else to know that we have this technology. So we are putting it under the umbrella of UFO, or the possibility of
it's a form
extraterrestrial.
of mind control, misleading and rerouting. And that's a good point. That's a good theory.
Or
That
it could be that they're trying to do that because they don't want to know that all of the progress that they did, starting from the century, 2020 centuries, all this rapid knowledge perhaps came from them. You
No,
never know.
it came from the hidden figures, those black women. That's who didn't get the credit. And those are,
that's why we went to outer space in the first place. It was
you
on
know,
black women.
good old Southern black women. They made it
Yeah,
possible
the
to walk on
Chitlin
the moon.
Circuit.
But
That's
but
right.
they
We
were
didn't need any extraterrestrials.
well, I'm just saying what is out there, and not to take the credit from a wonderful female contribution, but what they're saying is that all of that, who knows? Who
I know, we
knows?
don't know. So, and it could be multiple things at work.
Yeah.
I
I,
mean,
I and years ago I was following man, I don't want to misname them, but some scientists that disputed the and called it BS as far as the age of the Earth. Saying
right.
it's impossible. There's no way to scientifically prove that the Earth is 65 million years old and the dinosaurs were that 100 million years ago and stuff like that. They said based on the current science and when they identify the age of fossils or any other evidence, it only goes back to 10,000, 15,000 years. They're saying they're lying to the public. They're just making this stuff up to paint a picture that they want you to see. And it's not the
Well,
reality.
it could be,
And so
Yeah.
because
they were
history
saying,
is
yeah,
rewritten.
they're saying it's
Yeah.
just impossible to determine and to certify and validate, oh, this happened 50 million years ago. It said there's no evidence at all. And they said they even asked the folks, prove it. We don't have to prove that it didn't happen. Prove you're saying that you, as a statement of fact, that the earth is just so, and notice everything else follows, because then you're talking about cavemen, people coming from monkeys. I didn't come from no damn monkey. Okay. Anybody
Right.
wants to claim they came from a monkey, I have no problem. I call you a monkey any day you want me to. You from your ancestors from monkeys. But my ancestors didn't come from monkeys and gorillas. Bipeds, one ped, whatever, quadruped.
Hmm.
So it's just, I think it's just a farce, and they just want to manufacture this because they're devoid of any spirituality at all. And can't believe a deity could summon us up and we just appeared magically. That's what they want to believe. I have no problem with that, but I didn't come from a monkey. So Michael Caine did not come from a monkey.
And
Right.
I mean, to me, is relevant if it's a monkey or not. I mean, what's wrong with being from a monkey? I mean, I respect all all life.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
my question will be, if we come from a monkey, how come the monkeys didn't develop? So
It's because it's
there's,
BS. It didn't happen.
but yeah,
Yeah, it didn't happen because they made it up. It's like and the question is, prove in the last recorded history, which goes back to the Chinese, I believe, or Egyptians. Go back and find out where anybody turned from a monkey to a human being to now. It doesn't exist. Doesn't exist.
Right.
Anyway.
Raising the cane.
Very
Controversy.
good. We covered everything.
Yeah.
Although there is that interesting movie I saw last Sunday night on Netflix called 65, which was released theatrically earlier in the year, starring Adam Driver. And he's from this advanced interstellar space traveling civilization. And he happens to land after his craft is struck by this asteroid, as he's taking a crew of 9 civilians to another planet. And it crash lands on this primordial, swampy celestial body that is identified early in the film as Earth. 65 million years ago, hence the name of the film, 65.
Okay.
And everybody other than himself, and he was the pilot, has perished. But he discovers that one of the pods is intact, and he is able to rescue and revive this 9-year-old girl who speaks another language from the upper territories of the planet he's from. And the reason Adam Driver is piloting this mission, which apparently has some risks, is that he needs to earn money because of his terminally ill daughter back on their home world. So it's kind of interesting because it kind of combines, some of my favorite topics: space travel, alien civilizations, and dinosaurs. So I'd recommend it.
Okay.
For you to watch.
And
So
we want to recommend something too, and we're going to be closing this out in a moment, Maury. So any final 140-minute words you have, any last words?
well, you kind of owe me 4 minutes, if you recall.
Okay, we'll you 4 minutes, but we want to recommend, with no spoiler alerts, it just came out Friday, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning. It's one of the best movies
yes.
we've ever
Really?
seen. So we won't give it away because it just came out this Friday. But
And you saw it
have
today.
to see it. We saw it
Yes.
today. And oh my gosh, it
action,
was
action, action.
non-stop.
Really?
Yes.
And
Oh,
you
good.
don't know what's real or not real. And this is part 1. Part 2 comes out next year. So
Okay.
see part 1. Obviously, you have a whole year to see part 1 before part 2 comes out. and
Gives me time.
Tom Cruise and Vin Rames and all of them.
No, excellent.
Excellent actors. Sorry if I didn't mention all the actors name by name, but all of you, excellent, excellent. Even the evil people were excellent, portrayed the evil
Yes.
people, the good people, the neutral people, everybody, and the scenes
Oh, yes.
were great. The
All the
cinematography,
graphics.
the graphics, the art. Oh my
Okay.
gosh.
That sounds like good, high
The
praise.
stunts were unbelievable. Stunts.
All right.
So the stunt people, the music was riveting. The audience was great. So
Yeah, Tom
Okay,
Cruise did a
audience
good job.
he did a great job. So
Okay.
Excellent. Yeah.
so we plugged that. So
You know
Maurice,
something?
go
I've
ahead.
always been, just piggybacking from what you said, I've always been a fan of Tom Cruise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Me too.
And you know, and he's not devoid of the extracurricular controversial
We'll just talk about the
stories,
positive of his stuff for now.
but that's what I'm focusing on, if you don't mind. So I put that aside because, you know, in this cancel culture era, I don't like to mingle some of the imperfections of a human being with his or her craft as a performing or graphic or musical artist. I mean,
Right.
I think that you can have a tremendous talent and still be imperfect. Most of
Yeah,
the people I know are imperfect.
I agree. I agree.
You know, and I have never seen Tom Cruise portray anything in other than an exemplary professional manner, whether it's comedy, whether it's a military role, whether he's in one of his rare villainous capacities, like in Collateral, or the what I would consider to be one of the comedies everybody should watch at least once, twice, three times a lady. Tropic Thunder,
Oh,
where it's got him, it's got Matthew McConaughey, it's got Robert Downey Jr., it's got Ben
Yeah,
Stiller.
I
So
actually saw that. That was a good movie, Sandra. Tropic
yeah,
really?
Thunder. That was a really good movie and
you got
very different from his normal
yeah.
So it's called again?
Tropic Thunder.
It's about
Okay.
a movie within a movie. They're trying to make
Right.
some kind of Vietnam movie within it, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, it is. It's actually funny.
I love the samurai. I mean,
Mhm.
that movie was excellent too.
Oh
But
yeah,
yeah, I have to watch
that's right.
that one.
Yeah,
Right. So he's excellent in this movie. And I always loved the Mission Impossible franchise when it was on the TV version, watching reruns. Obviously, I was a little
Yes.
baby when it first aired, but
Peter Graves and Martin
and
Landau.
right, and it
Um,
was just perfect. And so when they extended it to him, I don't know, I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to pull it off, but he did from the
He
very
did.
beginning reboot of Mission Impossible to now. It's just excellent. This movie is not
Excellent.
just one of the best in the franchise, but one of the best movies I've seen among all genres.
wow,
Yeah, yeah. I think
that's
it's a big competitor to what's his other one he just did? Maverick and
okay.
Top Gun. So
Yeah. Top
you know
Gun.
what? I enjoyed this more than that. But even though the second one though was fabulous, Top Gun,
Yeah,
Top Gun, that was excellent. So I would say this beats it out by a little margin. It beats it out a
Mhm.
bit, like about that much.
Yeah.
And
okay.
so it was
So
close there,
that's
neck and neck. But one gets an A plus, one gets an A minus. So,
not an
Yeah.
A.
well, excuse me, A plus to an A. I meant that.
Okay,
Thank you for
all
catching that.
right. Yeah,
A plus to an A, yeah.
all right.
But A minus like saying B plus, isn't it? So yeah, A plus to an A.
It is. I recognize those distinctions though. So, because if you can give me a B plus, And if they're that close, you might as well give me an A-.
You know what? You know what? I'm still traumatized. I got an A- in this business class that I missed out. It was, you had to produce a business plan. I wrote 95 pages, 90 pages,
Oh,
and I missed one paragraph, which gave me that messed up my grade. Because he say I believe
Wow.
he didn't give A pluses, but he gave A's. I missed it by that much because of one dang section, one paragraph.
so
I
kind
should
of
have been
to quote Maxwell Smart, you missed it by that much.
that much. And you know what? I'll never forget what it was. It was about insurance writers.
Yeah.
I forgot to include an insurance writer section in the plan.
Oh,
And so
oh,
and I'm like, God doggone it. And it's something I could do in my sleep, right? That and I would have been able to forgive myself. It was something I didn't know what to do, didn't know it. But that's the one thing I knew. And it's like, really? And I missed it. 90 pages. Dang. A
that sounds
minus.
very comprehensive.
A minus. Yeah. But you know
Yeah.
what he said? I was
What?
out of a class. I don't know how many people were in there, maybe 50, 60 people. He says, not only was my plan the best plan in the class I took with him, it was one of the best plans he's ever seen as
Oh,
a
that's
professor.
awesome.
All right. So
That's awesome.
He says, I was forced to mark you down because of that one section was missing, that one element.
He was
But
forced.
other than that, this is one of the most organized things
that's
from a student I've
forced him?
ever read.
Who forced him?
yeah,
Well,
I
I mean,
know. Yeah, right.
he's doing his job because I left out a section, I left out a statement that should have been included in it.
Yeah.
It
But
should
I
have
mean,
been an A, not an A plus, but an A.
but yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that sounds like an A.
Maurice, I mean,
Yeah,
no
it
one had
sounds
a
like
gun,
an
but you still give me credit, huh?
A.
But but
Well, let's
he
call him
had
out. What's his name?
he's been, I'm sure, long dead. He was up there in age back in the 80s, so
So it doesn't matter if you name him.
no, I don't do that because he was one of the best professors I've ever had. So
Well, call him out then. Give him
decent
praise.
human being. So
Give him
anyway,
praise
And
in
family.
paradise.
There's
Give,
family.
give him praise in paradise.
praise in paradise, huh? Kind of an oxymoron. It's kind of, you're in paradise. That means you're dead getting praise.
Well,
I guess there's nothing
in
wrong with
paradise,
that.
you still praise the Lord.
Okay.
Well, that's an exception,
No, you get praise for the good things you did.
right? But you can't tell
I-
that person.
Yes, you can. He's there. He's in the afterlife. This is Michael. This is heaven 101. I'm trying to tell you. This is heaven 101. You gonna tell me?
So, hey, Sandra, any last words?
No, I just enjoy talking to you guys and giving all of this information fun to
Yeah.
everybody that is listening. And thank you for continuing supporting us to this podcast. And please share with in your social media so that we can continue to bring topics that you enjoy and that we enjoy, and to bring awareness, which is what we're here. This is the purpose, is to make sure that you hear it. Like Michael says, we are speaking our minds. So
Right.
That's right.
See,
thank you.
I have great, thank you, Sandra. I have greater weight than
Thank you.
Simon. Simon says, get it?
Simon says,
Michael says, hey, Maurice, you've been looking like you're doing a 360, our whole conversation going around in circles
No,
like
he's doing his steps.
you're
that's
doing your
right.
step 360. Sandra saved
I
you
got
because I was waiting to
I
hear
got
the truth.
11,669
You're
steps.
doing your steps. Yeah, because I noticed you've been doing a whole 360 around. I say, wow, he's on a carousel.
No,
I've been
that
going
that's
up
good.
steps. Yeah.
Going up, that's good. Get your help.
Exactly. In fact,
So,
I'm 11,669 steps, and in fact,
Wow.
and down to 37% power. So I'm going to be recharging this Versa 3 Fitbit pretty soon.
so anyway, any last
Okay.
words under 2 minutes?
Yes. If you're not listening to raising, if you're not listening to Raising the Cane, you're wasting your life.
Is that it? Okay. Well, please subscribe and please share, like Sandra and Marty said, please share with your family and friends, and even your frenemies will benefit. Maybe they'll become frenemies to friends if they listen to our podcast.
Even your
So
mortal enemies.
your
You know,
mortal enemies need to listen to us. Please subscribe and click the button, the like button, and on YouTube, and we're on iHeart and Spotify and the big Apple. We're on Apple and Amazon Music. So please, wherever you see us, on our website, to all those platforms, please support us and share. And so
Yes.
sharing is caring.
that's right. Sharing is caring. And thank you for taking the time out to watch and listen to us. And until next time, this is Raising the
The
Cane.
cane.
Until next time, my friends, adios.
Adios. Hasta
Bye.
los huevos. Hasta los huevos.
Give Maury some eggs. He wants some
Give me-
eggs.
I want eggs now.
He wants some eggs. Now. Get him some eggs right now.
Uh-oh. You know what? In
Hasta los
Hispanic,
huevos.
that is something
Okay.
different.
Okay.
Anyway,
Uh-oh.
okay.
Good-
Bye.
Goodbye. Yeah, raising the cane.